The first time I saw her, she was giving away her lunch. Not because someone asked, not because cameras were rolling or because anyone would ever know. She simply saw hunger and couldn't look away. That's the thing about people who carry light inside them. They can't help but let it spill over onto others, even when their own flame is flickering. I didn't know then that this stranger in a worn denim jacket, crouched beside a homeless veteran on 5th Street, would teach me what it means to be truly human. I didn't know that her story would shatter everything. I thought I understood about strength, sacrifice, and what we owe each other in this brief, beautiful, complicated life we share. Her name was Elena Martinez, though I wouldn't learn that until much later. She worked double shifts at County General Hospital, first as a nurse's aide from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, then cleaning offices in the same building until 10 at night. Between those shifts, she'd walk to the public library where her daughter, Sophia, did homework at the corner table, the one near the big window that caught the afternoon sun. Sophia was 12, bright as a new penny, with her mother's dark eyes and her father's quick smile, though he'd been gone. 3 years now, lost to the same cancer that had taken their savings, their small house in the suburbs, and every safety net they'd carefully woven. I was researching a story about healthcare workers, the invisible ones who kept hospitals, running while earning wages that barely covered rent. My editor wanted statistics and quotes, the usual package that readers would scroll past while drinking their morning coffee. But Elena wasn't interested in being a statistic. When I approached her outside the hospital that Tuesday evening, she shook her head firmly. "I don't need anyone feeling sorry for me," she said, adjusting the strap of her backpack. "I'm doing just fine." She wasn't, though. I could see it in the careful way she walked, favoring her left leg, the way her hands trembled slightly as she pulled out a granola bar that would serve as dinner. The exhaustion etched in lines around her eyes that shouldn't have been there on someone who'd just turned 34. But I also saw something else. Every person who passed her got a smile, a genuine one. The security guard received a "have a good night." Marcus, the janitor, got a pat on the shoulder and a "hope your grandson's feeling better." She moved through the world like someone who understood that kindness cost nothing but meant everything.
I followed her story anyway, without her permission at first. I'm not proud of that. But something about Elena pulled at me, demanded attention in a world that had trained me to look away from suffering. I watched her stop to help an elderly man whose grocery bag had torn, spending 15 minutes of her precious between shift break gathering scattered oranges from the sidewalk. I saw her slip money into the guitar case of a street musician, then apologize that it wasn't more. I witnessed her spend her lunch hour reading to patients in the hospital's long-term care wing, people who had no family, no visitors, no one to remember they were still here, still human, still worthy of someone's time. 3 weeks into my unofficial observation, I watched her collapse outside the library, just folded onto the concrete like a puppet with cut strings. Sophia screamed, and I ran, calling 911 before I'd consciously decided to intervene. At the emergency room, a doctor I'd interviewed months before recognized Elena and moved her to the front of the line. "Professional courtesy," he said, but I saw the concern in his face. Severe pneumonia complicated by malnutrition and exhaustion. Her immune system, he explained to Sophia and me in the too bright waiting room, had simply given up. She needed weeks of rest. She needed proper meals. She needed to not work herself to death. She needed help, he said quietly, about 6 months ago. Sophia sat beside me, her thin shoulders shaking with sobs she tried to muffle. At 12, she'd already become practiced at being brave, at taking up as little space as possible, at not asking for things they couldn't afford. She'd been wearing the same shoes for 2 years, the soles patched with duct tape. Her jacket was 3 sizes too big, donated from somewhere. Probably from someone Elena had helped first. "Is she going to die?" Sophia whispered. "No," I said, though I had no authority to promise this. "No, she's not." I made a decision then that wasn't really a decision at all. Some things you just do because the alternative, doing nothing, is impossible to live with. I wrote the story. Not the one my editor wanted, but the real one. I wrote about Elena's double shifts and Sophia's duct-taped shoes. I wrote about the homeless veteran who remembered Elena's kindness, who told me she'd been giving him her lunch 3 days a week for 8 months. I wrote about the patients who waited for her reading sessions, who said she made them feel human again. I wrote about Marcos, the security guard, who revealed Elena had been helping him study for his GED. spending her break time tutoring him in math. I wrote about a woman who gave everything despite having nothing, who saw people instead of statistics, who chose kindness when the world had given her every excuse to choose bitterness.
The story went viral before I'd finished my morning coffee. By noon, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. By evening, a GoFundMe campaign had raised $40,000. By the end of the week, County General had offered Elena a full-time position with benefits and offered to pay for her nursing degree. A local apartment complex donated a year of free rent. Sophia's school started a scholarship fund in Elena's name for children of healthcare workers. But here's what stays with me. What I think about late at night when I'm questioning whether anything I do matters. When Elena woke up 3 days later, weak but alive, the first thing she asked wasn't about herself. She asked if someone could check on Marcus, if anyone had fed the veteran on 5th Street, if the patients in long-term care had someone reading to them. The doctors had to physically restrain her from trying to get out of bed to help others. "Elena," I said, sitting beside her hospital bed, "you almost died. You need to rest. You need to let people help you for once." She looked at me with those dark, tired eyes and smiled that same genuine smile I'd seen her give to strangers. "But who will help them?" she asked simply, as if this were the only question that mattered. I didn't have an answer then. But over the following months, I watched something beautiful unfold. The people Elena had helped, one by one, began helping others. Marcus got his GED and started a free tutoring program. The veteran got into housing and began volunteering at a soup kitchen. The street musician organized benefit concerts for struggling families. Sophia, seeing the outpouring of support for her mother, started a kindness club at her school. Elena's light hadn't just spilled over, it had started fires everywhere it touched. She's back at County General now, studying for her nursing degree. In the breaks between shifts, she no longer has to double up. Sophia wears new shoes and dreams of becoming a doctor. They have a small apartment with enough bedrooms that Sophia doesn't have to sleep on the couch anymore. The GoFundMe money sits mostly untouched. Elena insisted most of it be redistributed to other families, struggling like hers had been. I still see her sometimes, usually in the hospital corridors, or at the library with Sophia. She still smiles at everyone. She still stops to help. She still can't walk past suffering without trying to ease it. The difference now is that she's not doing it alone. She's not carrying the weight of the world on shoulders too tired to bear it. Because here's what I learned from watching Elena Martinez. What I learned from her. Kindness isn't weakness. Compassion isn't naive. Seeing someone's humanity and choosing to honor it isn't foolish. It's the most powerful thing any of us can do. Elena didn't have money or influence or power, but she had something more valuable. She had the courage to care in a world that often rewards indifference. She had the strength to keep giving when she had nothing left to give. We live in an age that celebrates independence, that prizes self-sufficiency, that treats asking for help as failure. But Elena taught me that we're not meant to carry our burdens alone. We're not designed to suffer in silence. We're built for community, for connection, for the profound and terrifying vulnerability of letting others see our struggles and help shoulder our weight. Her story isn't about one person saving the day. It's about how one person's kindness can spark a chain reaction of compassion that transforms a community. It's about how the smallest acts, a shared lunch, a genuine smile, 15 minutes reading to someone, forgotten, can echo forward in ways we can't predict or measure. Elena didn't set out to change the world. She just refused to look away from suffering. She just chose, again and again, to be human in the fullest sense of that word. And in doing so, she reminded all of us what we're capable of when we stop thinking about what we don't have and start sharing what we do. That's her legacy. Not the money raised or the lives directly changed, though those matter. Her real legacy is simpler and more profound. She proved that one person, armed with nothing but compassion and stubborn, foolish, beautiful kindness, can remind the rest of us what we're here for. We're here for each other. Always have been, always will be. Sometimes we just need someone like Elena to show us the way home.